You may not realize it, but you are building your world right now with every thought you think. Most people believe their lives are shaped by external forces, circumstances, opportunities, relationships, or even luck. But let me offer you something more powerful, something both ancient and yet as modern as tomorrow. Your thoughts are the architects of your life. Your mind does not simply observe reality, it constructs it, interprets it, and ultimately decides what it becomes for you. That's not just philosophy, that's spiritual truth, and more than that, it's personal responsibility. The great shift in a person's life begins the moment they realize this. Asterisk, my life does not change until my thoughts change. Asterisk, you don't get a new world by rearranging the furniture, you get a new world by building a new house. And that house is built brick by brick, word by word, thought by thought. If you constantly dwell on defeat, you start to see obstacles where there are opportunities. If you tell yourself repeatedly that you're not enough, the world will begin to reflect that story back to you. You'll start interpreting neutral events as personal failures. A delay becomes a rejection. A mistake becomes proof of inadequacy. But here's the miracle. You can reverse that process. The same way a negative thought patterns your world in darkness, a new thought can bring light. Now, I want to be clear. This is not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about choosing the frame through which you see your reality. That frame, that mental lens, determines how you feel, how you act, and ultimately, where you go. Two people can walk through the same storm. One sees destruction, the other sees a test of strength. One becomes bitter, the other becomes better. What makes the difference? The quality of their thoughts. This is why Scripture urges us to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Transformation doesn't come from the outside in. It begins on the inside and then flows outward. Your world begins to change when your thoughts begin to align with truth, faith, possibility, and purpose. And that change is not always loud. It's not always dramatic. Often it begins with something as quiet as a single new belief. Asterisk, maybe I can. Asterisk, asterisk, maybe God isn't finished with me. Asterisk, asterisk, maybe my best days didn't pass me. They're still ahead. Asterisk, these aren't just hopeful phrases. They are mental blueprints. Neuroscientists today echo what the great spiritual thinkers of the past already knew. Our brains are malleable. They change with repetition. Your thoughts, especially those you repeat daily, carve grooves in your mind like rivers carving canyons. The more you think something, the easier it becomes to think it again. And over time, those thoughts become your automatic reactions, your expectations, your identity. So let me ask you, what kind of mental architecture are you building? Are you constructing a life of limitation, fear, and regret, thought by thought? Or are you building a life of hope, courage, and grace? Because every thought is a stone in the structure of your future. And whether that future stands tall in faith or collapses in doubt depends entirely on what you allow to take root in your mind. I know people who had every disadvantage you can imagine: poverty, trauma, failure, and still built beautiful lives. And I've known people with every advantage: education, talent, support, but they could never escape the prison of their own thinking. That's the power of the mind. It can imprison you or it can liberate you. And the key is in your hand. Changing your life doesn't always require a radical external event. Sometimes it just requires a different thought repeated enough times to take hold. The shift from I'm stuck to I'm learning. The shift from I'm broken to I'm being rebuilt. The shift from it's over to something new is beginning. Those are not just statements. They are construction materials. They're the framework for a new way of being. And here's the beauty: you get to choose. You are not a passive observer of your mind. You are its master. Yes, old thought patterns may be deeply rooted. Yes, negativity may have been your default for years, but the power that created you did not leave you without the power to reshape yourself. God placed within you the ability to think higher, to believe deeper, and to imagine more boldly. If you want to change your world, start by listening to what you're saying to yourself when no one else is around. That's the place where transformation begins. Not in the spotlight, not in the applause, but in the silence, when it's just you and your thoughts. What you say to yourself in those moments determines what you do when the world is watching. So I urge you, build your life with intention, build it with strength, build it with thoughts that speak life, not death, possibility, not limitation, faith, not fear, because long before your world changes on the outside, it changes in the silence of your mind. And that is where the true miracle begins. Because when you take control of your thoughts, you don't just build a better life. You become a new person. And when you become new, so does your world. Most people never realize the damage their own thinking is doing until it's already built a life they no longer recognize. They assume the world is what it is, that the way they feel is determined by what's happening to them. But the truth, the liberating, powerful truth, is that much of what you experience isn't simply happening to you, it's being shaped through you. Your inner world, your habitual thoughts and beliefs are painting the colors and setting the tone of your outer life. And here's what I want you to consider. Negative thinking shrinks your world, positive thinking expands it. Now that may sound like a nice phrase, but it's more than that, it's a law of human nature. When your mind is filled with fear, doubt, bitterness, or defeat, your world begins to close in. Opportunities look like threats. Kindness feels like manipulation. Hope begins to feel like naivety. You retreat. You withdraw. You stop dreaming. You stop moving forward, because when the mind is small, the world looks hostile and unwelcoming. But when your mind is filled with faith, when it's energized by possibility, hope, and divine assurance, something extraordinary happens. The world opens up. You begin to notice doors that were always there but previously unseen. You approach problems with creativity instead of panic. You see the best in people instead of the worst. And perhaps most importantly, you begin to believe in your ability to influence the future rather than simply endure the present. You see, when I say negative thinking shrinks your world, I don't just mean emotionally, it does so practically. Think of how many people have walked away from relationships that could have healed because their mind was clouded with suspicion or pride. Think of the dreams left undone because someone let self-doubt speak louder than determination. Think of the voices, maybe even your own, that said, "What's the point? I'll just fail again." Every one of those thoughts closes a window, shuts a door, dims a light, and over time, what was once a wide-open world becomes a narrow hallway of just getting by. And yet, I've also seen what happens when a person begins to believe, truly believe, that things can get better, that their thoughts are not just passive reactions but powerful choices. That positive thinking is not denying reality, it's reclaiming your authority over it. Positive thinking expands your world not because it makes life easier, but because it gives you the strength to engage life fully. It helps you see through the lens of potential, not just pain. Now don't misunderstand me, positive thinking doesn't mean ignoring challenges. It means approaching them from a place of strength instead of fear. It means training your mind to ask, "What can I learn from this?" instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" It means shifting from the victim mindset to the victor mindset. And when you do that, when you consistently do that, you start to see life differently. You don't just survive hardship, you grow through it. Philosophers and psychologists alike have confirmed what Scripture told us long ago. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That's not just a spiritual truth, it's a psychological law. Your life bends in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. If you think small, you live small. If you think defeated, you behave defeated. But when your thinking is elevated, your life starts to elevate with it. You rise, not by force but by alignment. You must be careful what kind of thoughts you allow to linger, because the thoughts you entertain most often become the emotional atmosphere of your life. And that atmosphere, whether it's filled with anxiety or assurance, resentment or gratitude, determines how far and how freely you move in the world. Some people have all the talent, all the support, all the opportunity, but because their inner world is filled with clutter, their outer world feels stuck. They are imprisoned not by their circumstances, but by their perceptions. But the moment you begin to think higher thoughts, thoughts filled with faith, love, courage, and perseverance, your world begins to respond. You begin to attract relationships that match your mindset. You start making decisions not out of fear but from clarity, and even when life knocks you down, and it will, you bounce back faster because your mind is rooted in something deeper than emotion. Positive thinking, at its core, is spiritual. It's not wishful fantasy. It is the deliberate act of aligning your mind with God's truth rather than the world's lies. It's not about ignoring pain, but about believing in purpose. It's the mindset that says, yes, this is hard, but I am not hopeless. That says, yes, I've made mistakes, but I am not my mistakes. That says, yes, the road is long, but I was built to walk it. That kind of thinking doesn't just feel good. It creates room for growth, healing, breakthrough. It enlarges your emotional and spiritual capacity. It allows you to love bigger, dream further, and live freer. So I ask you now, is your world shrinking or expanding? And more importantly, what kind of thoughts are you feeding your spirit every day? Because your life will not grow beyond the size of your mindset. Choose thoughts that make you bolder, not smaller. Choose thoughts that stretch your faith, not shrink your hope. Because when you elevate your thoughts, your world begins to rise with them. It's easy to look at the surface of life and assume that what we see is all there is. The bank account, the job title, the relationships, the disappointments. They feel so tangible, so loud, that we forget something far more subtle is shaping them all. What's beneath it, what's asterisk driving asterisk it, is often invisible but incredibly powerful. Your beliefs, and more specifically, what you believe about asterisk yourself asterisk, because your outer circumstances almost always reflect your inner beliefs. That may be difficult to accept at first. After all, many of the hardships in life are beyond our control. Illness, loss, economic hardship, injustice, these are real. But even in the face of circumstances we didn't choose, how we interpret them, how we respond, and how we asterisk grow asterisk through them is directly shaped by what we believe deep inside. Not just intellectually, but emotionally and spiritually. If you believe deep down that you're not worthy of success, you'll subconsciously sabotage your progress. If you believe that love always leads to pain, you'll find reasons to keep people at arm's length. If you believe that nothing good ever lasts, you'll never fully enjoy anything while it lasts. These beliefs may not be things you say out loud, but they're alive in how you carry yourself, how you react, how you make choices, or avoid them. We don't rise to the level of our intentions. We fall to the level of our core beliefs. That's why two people can walk into the same opportunity, and one thrives while the other retreats. It's not about intelligence or luck, it's about alignment. If your inner world is filled with doubt, you will constantly look for proof of your limitations. And make no mistake, if you're looking for limitations, you'll find them. But the same is true of possibilities. The mind always finds what it's trained to seek. This is why we must confront the quiet narratives that run beneath our surface. the ones that were often planted in childhood or reinforced through years of hurt. The ones that say, "You're too broken, you're too late," or "You're not the kind of person who wins." These inner stories are not harmless, they are scripts we live out. And unless we rewrite them with truth, we will keep reliving the same chapters with different faces and different places, but the same ending. I've known people who seemed to have it all, but their lives were hollow. Because somewhere inside, they never believed they were enough. So they chased validation instead of purpose. They built image instead of identity. And then I've seen others with very little. No fame, no wealth, no applause. But they walked with power and peace. Because they believed something better. They believed they were created with value, that God had a purpose for them, that even in struggle they were being shaped, not punished, and that belief shaped everything else. You see, your beliefs determine your behavior shapes your habits carve the trajectory of your life. It all starts with what's going on inside your mind and heart. If you want to change the external, you have to change the internal. If you want to experience different outcomes, you have to entertain different beliefs. And let's be honest, sometimes the belief we hold on to most tightly is the one that's hurting us, because it's familiar. It feels safe, it tells us who we are, even if it's keeping us small. But freedom doesn't come from what's familiar, it comes from what's true. And the truth is, you are not your past, you are not your pain. You are not what they said about you, you are what God says about you, and He says you are loved, you are capable, you are chosen, you are being renewed day by day. When you begin to believe that, truly believe it, not just with your head but with your soul, your choices start to shift. You stop settling, you start showing up with purpose. You begin to speak differently, walk differently, carry yourself with quiet strength. Not arrogance, not perfection, but conviction, and that conviction ripples outward. It changes how you lead, how you serve, how you dream. Suddenly, you're not just reacting to life, you're responding from a place of alignment. You're not waiting for circumstances to validate you, you're living from a deeper validation that circumstances can't take away. But you must do the inner work. You must pause and ask yourself, what do I really believe about myself, about the future, about what's possible for me, and if those beliefs are rooted in fear, shame, or scarcity, then it's time to uproot them. Not with hype, but with truth. Real, lasting, liberating truth. You are more than what's happened to you. You are more than your current season. Your life is not the ceiling, it's a canvas. But what you paint depends on what you believe you're capable of creating. So choose your beliefs wisely, guard them, speak them, feed them, because the world around you will begin to mirror the world within you. And when your inner world is strong, aligned, and filled with truth, you won't have to chase transformation. It will begin to chase you. Isn't it remarkable how the human mind has the ability to magnify whatever it chooses to focus on? Whatever we consistently dwell on, whether it's something life-giving or life-draining, begins to expand not just in our awareness but in our actual experience. What you focus on, you magnify. That's not just motivational jargon. It's an unchanging law of the inner life. And yet so many of us live unaware that the spotlight of our attention is determining the quality of our existence. We don't realize it, but we're always in the act of interpreting reality. Every day, we're assigning meaning to people, events, and possibilities, and the lens through which we interpret those things is shaped by our focus. Focus on fear, and you'll find reasons to worry. Focus on failure, and you'll start to doubt your worth. But shift your focus to progress, even the smallest inch, and you'll start to see potential. Focus on what's left, not what's lost, and gratitude begins to grow. Focus on who you're becoming, not who you were, and hope starts to rise. It's not magic, it's attention, and attention, spiritually speaking, is a form of devotion. Think about how much of our emotional energy is consumed by things that don't serve us, offenses we keep rehearsing, regrets we can't change, fears that haven't happened yet. Each one of those becomes a thief of focus. They drain our strength not because they're inherently powerful, but because we keep shining the spotlight of our mind on them again and again, and whatever gets the most light grows. I've seen people trapped in pain not because the pain was still present, but because they couldn't stop replaying it. I've seen people stuck in seasons long after they ended, still bitter over what someone said, still paralyzed by what didn't work out. And I want to say this gently but clearly, you cannot walk into a new season while your mind is still living in the old one. If you want peace, you have to stop nurturing the thoughts that disturb it. This doesn't mean denying your struggles. It means being intentional about what you give your attention to. It means you learn to turn your gaze toward what uplifts, even when life is difficult. The truth is, even in hardship, you can focus on strength. Even in delay, you can focus on growth. Even in loss, you can focus on what remains. And when you do, the weight begins to shift. Not because the problem disappears, but because your perception becomes stronger than your pain. The Apostle Paul once wrote, "Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, think about such things." That wasn't a shallow pep talk. It was a strategy for inner strength. Because your thoughts either build you up or tear you down. They are either tools for construction or weapons of destruction, and that choice lies in what you focus on. Here's something to remember: the mind is naturally drawn to problems. It's how we're wired for survival, but we're not just meant to survive. We're called to live with purpose. And living on purpose requires shifting our focus from fear to faith, from lack to abundance, from what we can't control to what we can influence. That shift is not easy, it takes daily effort, but it's the difference between being overwhelmed by life or being empowered within it. I've had to learn this the hard way myself. There were seasons where I allowed negative focus to dominate my thoughts. Worries about outcomes, anxieties about acceptance, doubts about calling, and the more I fed those thoughts, the more they multiplied. But everything changed the moment I learned to redirect my focus, not ignore reality, but choose to give more attention to the truth than to the lie, to the promise more than the problem, to the presence of God more than the pressure of life. And I want to encourage you today, start noticing what you're magnifying. Notice where your focus goes when things get quiet, when you're driving, when you're lying in bed, when you're scrolling through your phone. Are you magnifying what's missing or what's meaningful? Are you rehearsing pain or recognizing progress? Remember, you don't need perfect conditions to experience peace. You need focused attention on what is *right* in the midst of what is *wrong*. And the more you practice this, the more resilient your spirit becomes. Over time, your mind becomes a place of strength, not stress. A place where possibility is louder than pressure, where vision is stronger than fear. Your focus is your power. You can't always choose your circumstances, but you can always choose what you magnify, and that choice, made consistently, will change your life from the inside out. Because, in the end, it's not the size of the challenge that breaks you. It's the size of your focus that determines how you face it.